Hello everyone, this is my communication theory map. I chose to go with an idea wheel to organize the 7 traditions. The first tradition in discussion is semiotic. The semiotic tradition conveys communications as the sharing of meaning through signs. Signs and symbols will differ across the individual. Their descriptions are not set. I chose to place the following theories under the semiotic tradition: relational prayer theory, media equation theory, and human object relationships by Baudrillards. Relational prayer theory was developed by James Basler. The theory is based on the notion that every major world includes some type of prayer. Prayer symbolizes the relationship that an individual has with a divine entity. Prayer across different religions involves different conditions, but they are not necessarily the same for everyone. Next is media equation theory. This theory is attributed to Brian Reeves and Clifford Nass. The theory implies that we respond to and react to communication media the same way we do actual people. Technology is no longer set to one purpose. Society looks to technology to provide more than just information. Technology has such a strong presence in today's society that they are prescribed human properties. The next theory focuses on human-object relationships. It was developed by Jean Baudrillard. The theory works to differentiate signs from objects and what they actually represent. Signs are not limited to one meaning. Jean insists that we offer certain meanings to objects through the relationship we have with them. This theory fits within the tradition by implying that signs are not set in one meaning and in return shape the environment of the individual. The next tradition is the phenomenological. The tradition focuses on the perspective of the individual in examining everyday life. It takes into consideration the individual's experiences, insisting that no two individuals can share the same exact occurrence. The first theory within this tradition is co-cultural theory. It is focused on conversations between individuals from underrepresented or marginalized groups and representatives of dominant society. The individual in the co-cultural group will not be able to relate to the experiences of those in the dominant culture. It is through communication that experiences are vocalized with the intention of understanding. The next theory is cultural contracts, developed by Ronald Jackson. It was created with the intention of exploring the shifting and negotiation of identities during intercultural interactions. Identities are reliant on an individual's experiences. Personal experiences help construct one's beliefs and reality. The final theory within this tradition is the coordinated management of meaning. Attributed to Barnett Pierce and Vernon Cronin, the theory was developed with the purpose of helping us to socially communicate, to create meaning, and also manage the social reality. The theory insists that we develop our own meanings, which we apply to certain situations. These meanings assist with the interpretation an individual has of the world. The next tradition is cybernetic. Cybernetic relies on systems to evaluate communication. It insists that communication is seen as a system of processing information, feedback, and control. The first theory within this tradition is the actor network theory. The actor network theory is attributed to Michael Callan, Bruno Latour, and John Law. The theory takes into consideration contributions of scientists and non-human objects to the process of scientific enterprise. The theory favors the development of patterns through certain communication activities. The next theory within this tradition is systems theory. The theory involves the investigation of systems, which can be natural or man-made, and living or non-living. Systems are characterized by their input and output. The theory insists that systems contribute to an individual or group's behavior and reality. The final theory within this tradition is general systems theory. Developed by Ludwig, it is rooted in the notion that complex systems share organizing principles, which can be discovered and modeled mathematically. The tradition is rooted in the implication that systems are able to contribute to one another. A system is reliable on that interaction. The next tradition in focus is socio-psychological. This tradition is aimed at the study of ways in which people affect and are affected by others. It focuses on cause and effect relationships and the insight they provide on behavior within communication. Personality plays a pivotal role in how an individual communicates. The first theory under this tradition is reduction theory, developed by Berger and his fellow colleagues. The theory is rooted in the ideas that people want to be able to predict behavior, so we are motivated to seek out information about others. There are goals in the communication we conduct, resulting in a planned interaction. We are bothered by the uncertainty that comes with encountering someone whom we are not familiar with, so communication works to diminish some of that doubt that we have. The next theory is expectancy violation theory. It is attributed to Burgoon. An individual carries certain expectations about the behavior of another person based on social norms as well as on previous experiences. The violation aspect implies that expectations were not met in that interaction. The attitude or perception an individual develops toward another are reliant on expectations met and violated. The final theory within this tradition is cognitive dissonance theory. Developed by Leon Festinger, the theory is centered around conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors, which can produce feelings of mental discomfort leading to an alteration. An individual works through discrepancy through acquiring new information from other individuals or mediums of communication. Moving on to the socio-cultural tradition. Socio-cultural tradition is based on the notion that communication plays a role in the development of cultures. Our reality and environment is constructed by the language exposed to us since birth. Reality is produced, maintained, and repaired and transformed through communication. The first theory under this tradition is cultural identity theory. The theory places focus on the communicative processes used by individuals to construct and negotiate cultural group identities and relationships across different contexts. A cultural identity is reliant on the communication of its members and the diversity they offer. The theory is reliant on how implications of the culture are communicated. Identity negotiation theory is the next in this tradition. The theory is rooted in the notion that identities affect communication interactions. There is a negotiation that occurs between cultural and personal identities. Identity is reliant on connection. Tensions that occur between the cultural and personal have to be communicated in order to reach a balance. The final theory within this tradition is social constructionism. The theory examines how human knowledge is constructed through social interaction, insisting that language contributes to the meanings we develop. Social constructionism is rooted in this tradition due to the language playing a key role in the development of an individual's reality. So, continuing with the sixth tradition, critical condition works to understand power structures that dominate society with a particular eye to whose interests are being served. Theorists work to expose oppressive conditions present in society to promote freedom from such limitations. Both power and oppression present in society are attributed to patterns of communication. The first theory within this tradition is post-structuralism. The theory assesses language's use as a social production and process informed by conventions, traditions, and situations. The theory fits into this tradition by implying that there is no universal structure or meaning. There are going to be differences and tensions that will require communication to reach some resolve. The next theory is post-colonialism, attributed to Edward Said. It is centered around the idea of otherness. The theory addresses the systems that divide and administer the world. The theory insists that Western traditions solidify power structures. Implications of this theory encourage freedom from unjust conditions by finding a common ground between the two cultures in question. The final theory within the critical tradition is feminist theory. Feminism is aimed at making available opportunities for self-expression and self-fulfillment regardless of gender or any other identity characteristics. It is reaching equality with the masculine. It is centered around the expectations women have of how they should be treated. Women communicate a particular way to voice their experiences. The final tradition on this map is rhetorical. Rhetoric is commonly associated with acts of persuasion but has evolved to encompass all of the ways humans use symbols to affect those around them and to construct the worlds in which they live in. There are 5 canons of rhetoric in constructing communication acts. The following theories are labeled under the rhetorical tradition: theory of invitational rhetoric, prayer as rhetoric, and symbolic convergence theory. The theory of invitational rhetoric implies that motive for communications does not always rely on need to modify another. Invitation implies that others may consider your perspective, but it is ultimately the audience's choice whether they adopt a viewpoint or not. Communication is not solely centered on persuading another to change their beliefs, rather, it is meant to provide clarification. Prayer as rhetoric is attributed to William Fitzgerald. The theory labels prayer as a rhetorical action. Prayer consists of multiple persuasive purposes such as petition, praise, thanksgiving, and confession. Prayer works to define a situation, relying on communication to build a relationship between humans and the divine. The final theory and discussion on this map is social convergence theory. The theory focuses on how individuals and groups come to a shared reality through communication. How an individual perceives reality is determined by the implications of what already exists. Individuals within a group develop a shared reality and ideas as they continuously express their views and experiences.